agencies get involved. Acute investigations, the diligent assembling of evidence, followed by the mounting of vigorous, efficient, credible, and effectual prosecutions are logical next step from these initial moves. This is because a prosecution is only as firm as the quality of evidence available to the prosecutor. To ensure that each of those complementary measures are sufficiently robust and effective, and that their respective integrity is maintained, the professional independence of each of those stages must be assiduously protected without losing the core value of cooperation. That is the surest way of vanquishing an elusive and destructive enemy, which corruption is. This policy will address a range of both implicitly and explicitly challenges which are at one time or rather faced by all agencies involved in this conflict against corruption. At the ODPP, we have come equally hard to face with some of these issues. They include the need to mainstream very strong administrative and ethical principles and standards in operations, the birthing and strengthening of a culture and system of mentorship, as well as that of internal monitoring and evaluation. A policy forms both a fulcrum upon which to leverage for excellence. It is also the base on which the superstructure of a working system is built. Our modest experience at the ODPP has taught us a number of things on this subject. The necessity for a strong and ethical administrative infrastructure became a self-evident as well-rolled out expansion scheme. Our current reach in the country is in the form of the decentralization of 47 offices, one in each of the 47 counties, and a prosecuting council in 129 court stations countrywide. This is in addition to 9 regional offices now operational. Altogether, there is a staff complement of about 1,000 officers in the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions. To maintain coordination between the offices, standards and cohesion, we know that an active induction program for new officers as well as a vibrant in-house training is indispensable. Hence the need for the Prosecution Training Institute, which for the ODPP is now up and running. All this goes hand in hand with a mentorship scheme, which is, as it should be, part and parcel of the courses to be run at the PTI, an insinuated in-house peer review system. In order to enhance accountability among the officers, the ODPP has established the Inspectorate Quality and Assurance Department to ensure that prosecutors maintain the highest levels of ethical conduct in the performance of their duties. This is in line with the ODPP Code of Conduct, Ethics for Public Prosecutors, and the Public Officers Code of Ethics. This is but a snapshot of what an asset, an integrated, a well-departmentalized office could be in a well-choreographed fight against the big blight of corruption. As a nation, we have a remarkable legal and institutional anti-corruption framework. However, undoubtedly, the policy that is being launched today is another quiver in our bow. This policy will be the much-needed guide, aiding all authorities to coordinate and implement anti-corruption interventions. This policy is a significant milestone towards the alignment of the government's avowed pledge to end corruption in this our beloved country. We must be aligned to the provision of the Constitution, enhancement of the rule of law, and protection of the rights of the people, which includes presumption of innocence. Ladies and gentlemen, we owe it to this our republic to get to a point when corruption will neither be an easy nor convenient choice for any of our citizens and residents. Justice works best in a well-regulated and predictable system. The policy provides the milieu in which justice may thrive, and for that we truly commend those who have contributed to this work of excellence. To the Attorney General of Kenya and all people of goodwill, we at the ODPP pledge our fidelity to this policy. Thanks and God bless us.
Let me also recognize the presence of TI, Transparency International, among us. represented by Mr. Bluma, and also, represented by Harriet Washira, sorry. Mr. Bluma is representing GIZ. So welcome to this forum. Let me now invite the CEO of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Mr. Twalib Mubarak, to address you.
Then 1.5 meters. The representative of the Attorney General, Ms. Mary Ann Jau, our chairman, Archbishop retired Eliud Abukala, the commissioners of the Eacc, the director of criminal investigation, Dr. Sodor, development partners, members of the Fourth Estate, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. This morning, we have a great honor and pleasure to join you in the auspicious event as we launch the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy. The launch of the policy marks a major milestone in the fight against corruption, and it maps out our collective strategy to root out the corruption in all spheres and to build a value-based society. I think there's a challenge of building a value-based society. It cuts across leadership, the middle-level management, and the society at large. It's interesting in this country, people will complain. Let me go to the transport sector and my experience over the weekend when I was driving from Naivasha, that people will complain that the NTSA is not working. I ask myself, when I see those matatus overloaded, overtaking, uphill, my Mahiu stretch, and you want NTSA to be present there. And if that matatu is fully loaded with passengers, and none of those passengers can tell the driver that you are likely to kill us because you are reckless. But we are busy saying NTSA is not working, this agency is not working. So we are saying value-based society. From the onset, I acknowledge the effort that was put in the development of this policy. It took a long time. We were part of the stakeholders. And you'll agree with me that in the recent years, the fight against corruption in Kenya has gained considerable momentum. Of course, equally with criticism that something is not done or is not adequate. But this is manifest in the huge recovery of corruptly acquired assets that are now ongoing, and the impact of the investigations, and the status of the people that are being arrested, as well as the increase of the rate of conviction, thanks to the partnership that is there between the Eacc, the DPP, and other agencies. As at now, we are talking of about, the Eacc has about 824 concluded investigations, and in close collaboration with the DPP, we have secured 153 convictions out of the 244 cases that appear, that have been handled. I am acknowledging the presence of the chairman of the Public Service Commission, Mr. Stephen Kirogo. Just for your information, he was one of the panelists of recruiting me. So he gave me the job also. On the side of the asset recovery, we are glad as Eacc to say that as at now we have recovered assets approximately about 20 billion in the last 5 years, with an acceleration of this in the last 2 years. We have also been able to disrupt losses of public funds. That is about 100 billion. Unfortunately, disruption is one of the most effective way of fighting corruption, but is the least in terms of attention from the media. The media are good at looking at, we have arrested people, we have taken to court, But prevention, I think, is better. Somebody said prevention is better than being reactive. And disruption marks one of the strategy of the Commission. And as at now, as I left the office, I even wrote another letter signed to disrupt something else. So disruption is a silent way of fighting corruption. And despite these statistics, I know there's a challenge of corruption being a very big threat to the country and actually a threat to national security. If you want to know about this, I was just handling something in the office. We had advertised for some few posts within the commission, and the HR wrote to me the summary of applicants. It's unbelievable. 11 vacancies, we have 6,000 applicants. One post of a driver, we have 1,200 applicants. So I don't know how HR will do the shortlisting, how many people will be called for interview. And that cut across all institutions, in the private sector and the public sector. And if we fight corruption effectively, the economy of this country will spiral. People will create avenues for opportunities for our youngsters to be employed. So for that reason, this policy will assist a lot. We're having a question here. What are we going to do differently following the launch of this policy? The policy provides a 7-approach strategy which embrace a whole government and society approach. The government plays its role in the fight against corruption, and the society also plays its role. It brings together the government, the media, the civil society, religious bodies, and other sectors to form one coherent force against corruption. Last week I was addressing the media, and we talked of corruption is like a lifestyle disease. You cannot say if you're diabetic or you have hypertension, you just take the drugs. The doctor will tell you you'll have these drugs, but at the same time avoid this type of food, avoid this type of environment. So the doctor will play his role, and you as a patient, you play your role, and you find that the disease is manageable. So we need the involvement of the public and the institutions. There's a big question about this policy. What are the reform areas in the anti-corruption process that requires leveraging on this policy? And in this regard, allow me to speak about 2 issues. One, strengthening of legal and institutional framework for anti-corruption, ethics, and integrity. As you are aware, the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, it talks about comprehensive statutory framework for its effective implementation. We have many challenges. People want to do things the way they want. We have to follow the law. Today, you get somebody appointed chairman of a commission, but he's not my chairman. And then there are structures in that organization. Anakuja na mtu hapo ati huyu ni mtu wangu. The guy is not in the structure, he is not in the payroll, he attends meetings of the commission. It's impunity. We can't allow those kind of things. Those are some of the gains that the Eacc does. When we get such complaints, we write to these public officers and tell them there is this and that, can you explain? And we want people to follow the law. The same applies to county governors. Some governors have got official PA and by the side PA. Mtu ya mkono lakini causing havoc in the entire county headquarters. So we need to follow the rule of law. The policies that we have, we must follow them. We have policies, but the implementation becomes a problem. And I'll give you a good example. Somebody, I was just discussing with him last week. We were driving and then there was a lorry that was emitting a lot of smoke. And I said, what is happening? He said, we have good policies on environment, pollution. But in the last 4 or 5 years, the issue of vehicles being arrested for heavy emission is no longer there. Then asked him why. He said, there was an amendment of the law, it now falls under NEMA. NEMA said they don't have enforcement capacity. The police say it's not their duty. No wonder nowadays malori inatembea unakuta kama ni msitu iko kwa moto. Enforcement But the policy is there. If you go to the NEMA and whatever, they'll give you all those things. So launching of this kind of policy, we must also believe in it and be ready to implement what is there. When we are looking at inadequate legal framework for effective declaration we have issues. People ask us about wealth declaration. We have realized as a commission that we need to have effective legal framework for income declaration, asset liability by public officers. To date, the Public Officers Ethics Act of 2003 has not been aligned to the Constitution. There are gaps and there's inconsistency. So the weak legal framework, we need weak legal framework to guarantee temporary vacation of office and suspension. I know there are some court, as I read in today's paper, that some people have gone to court. I'm not supposed to discuss issues that are in court on how people, whether they should be in their place of work when they've been charged. We have new jurisprudence by the courts to bar elected officials from physical access to office, and there's need to strengthen the law to include actual suspension, because all this will act as a deterrence. And we also have a problem with the lack of coercive mechanism to ensure implementation of system review. I always talk about this. We have a prevention department, directorate within the commission. They are doing a very good job. Unfortunately, they're not seeing arresting people, so people don't know what is their input, but they do a lot of work. They review system for institutions and they put recommendations. Unfortunately, the law does not allow Eacc to do an enforcement of the implementation. And in case there's no implementation, what punitive action are you supposed to take? We lack that one, and this is something that needs to be addressed. The second game changer under the policy is on enhancing public participation in the war against corruption. It is members of the public who interact with the officials, and they are able to tell if somebody is having an issue in terms of wealth accumulation. You hear somebody in the county is a procurement officer, procurement clerk, and you are told, now this guy has got a fleet of trucks, he has built several houses, he has the lifestyle is not commensurate to the earnings. So the public participation, they are the first people who can raise a red flag, and our experience indicates that majority of our citizens actually glorify the corrupt. Some of these people who are accused of corruption, especially in the counties, like the governors, quite a number of them are serving their second term. And those who are serving their first term, we have done an assessment as a commission. They can be a very formidable force in the contest for the next election because of the money they have accumulated. So our experience indicates that we need a proactive participation of anti-corruption initiative. They perceive the responsibility of fighting corruption to be only the function of the government. And I think the public plays a very, very big role, because we don't need to vet by having Eacc to look at what kind of a person you are dealing with. The police clearance certificate from George, no. It is you as a voter who will do your own inward vetting. What kind of a person are we voting in? If you vote for somebody, it's not a campaign, but if you bring a wrong person, you'll have problems. If you bring the right person, you'll have good leadership. Let me, for the first time, talk about governors. There are some governors who are good. Whenever I speak, people say, now governors are in trouble, Eacc. But we have governors who are accountable, and we have governors, some of them that we really appreciate, because they walk into our offices and they seek guidance. When they see something that they're not certain about it, maybe it will bring a problem in terms of integrity, accountability, they call us and they come and they say, we have this problem, can you guide us? And we guide them. So we should not be looked upon as people who are just out there to punish government officers. We also want partnership for the government officers to avert some of these losses. The government cannot fight corruption alone. Indeed, no single agency can do it. We need to change our culture. We need to change our perception. Somebody has talked about the issue of curriculum in schools. I think the curriculum of fighting corruption is not supposed to be in school alone. It should start from the house, from homes. If what they see as they are being brought up is a wrong way, even if you put that curriculum in school, it will not work. They will just follow it for the purpose of passing exams. You know, they say when you keep on caning your kids, once they go wrong, they will even go and get the cane and say, Daddy, sasa ni chape. And it doesn't work. So curriculum, the aspect of impact of the virtue of being accountable, a good citizen, start with the parenting, which is very important. Unfortunately, most of us, we have very little time for the kids at home. But I'm told with the COVID, we were forced to stay at home, and everything comes with negative aspect and positive. One of the positive aspects of COVID is that as parents, we had a lot of time with our children. So in the implementation of the policy, we are looking at the policy is to enhance in the fight against corruption by fixing the current gaps and challenges that are there, and we need to prioritize how we are going to do it. Sometimes we may put too much emphasis on the quick wins, and then we burn out. So in our view is that we need to prioritize the enactment of the Lifestyle Audit Bill of 2019 and the Conflict of Interest Bill 2019 in order to strengthen procedures for recovery of unexplained wealth and corruptly acquired assets and issues to deal with procurement. The most unfortunate thing in government is that a number of procurement, especially in the devolved government, you find that, okay, people have known that I cannot open a company and do business with the county or the government. You use proxies, and you do a skewed mechanism of manipulating the tender requirements, the appointment of public service. If you know that there's a post of an MD and you want to put certain person, you go and look at his CV, and then you say, work experience of 20 years. 20 years, work experience. And this country, 75% of the population is under 30 years. Who will this person who will be having work experience if he's 34 from the age of 14? But you're just tailoring the whole thing so that you get your candidates. So those kind of things, as a commission, we don't accept, and we do alert entities that everything should be done to achieve fairness and transparency. So we also propose legal amendments to establish effective and framework of integrity vetting for candidates for political positions. This is very, very important. We have it right now, but I think from our own experience of the 2013 elections and the 2017 elections, we found some gaps that need to be addressed so that the process of vetting becomes more watertight, and the review of the Public Officers Ethics Act of 2003 so that it can be in alignment with the current constitution. We also look at provision of legal mechanism for suspension of public officers. I've talked about it, and the provision of coercive mechanism for the implementation system of system review as recommended by the Commission. So, in conclusion, while there are signs in the and gains about the fight against corruption, we still have a long way to go, and the way forward, as agencies, we need to collaborate, we need to work together. And the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy will provide a useful guide that will reignite the desire and reduce the prevalence of corruption in this country. The people ask a question is corruption rampant, or is it because we are too liberalized now? Because those old days, assume 30 years ago, there were no mobiles, there was nothing like the social forums to open up and tweet and the WhatsApp, all these things, they were not there. So the argument is corruption is it so rampant, or is it there's accountability of the public and the mode of communication that is improving the awareness about corruption? For some of us who are over 50, there was a time in this country you could not arrest a minister, you could not arrest a PS, even ahead of a state corporation. We used to have an Auditor General of State Corporation. He will write everything, how money has been embezzled, and nothing will be done. Today, we see people are being arrested. I think we are not yet there, but we are in the right direction. Well, with those remarks, I think I come to an end of this my speech, and I would like to invite the chairman of the Public Service Commission, Mr. Stephen Kirogo, so that he can also address us. He's one of the players. The Public Service Commission is a very wide entity, and with such kind of a launch, you cannot ignore it. So, Mr. Kirogo, welcome, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you very much. May I acknowledge the chair, the chairperson, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, retired Archbishop Edward Bukara. I start with him because he's my Archbishop. Spiritually, the representative of our guest of honor this morning, Mary Ann Njao, the representative of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Madame Dorcas Oduor, Mr. Twarib Barak, the Secretary and CEO, Ethics and Anti-Corruption, Commissioners, Eacc, our brother DCI, George Kinoti, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning once more. I wish to thank the organizers of this forum for according the Public Service Commission the opportunity to give a few remarks on this most memorable occasion. I note that the Commission is one of the key stakeholders in the promotion of good governance, integrity, transparency, and accountability in the public service. With this realization, the PSC has adopted the vision of a citizen-centric public service with the aim of reforming and transforming the service into a citizen-oriented service. I am also aware that throughout the policy development process, the Commission was represented by able and competent officers, and therefore we fully associate with the policy issues and the proposed policy intervention. I am happy to report that even as the policy was under development, we have been busy implementing the existing laws and regulation. The Public Service Commission is responsible for the highest number of institutions and public officers in the service. In the just ended financial year, we managed to have over 93,000 public officers sign commitment to the Public Service Code of Conduct and Ethics. We also trained over 630 link persons from 270 MDAs on the code, financial disclosures, and the national and public service values. And the Commission is also a responsible commission for the administration of declaration of income, assets, and liabilities the public officers under its jurisdiction. The 2018-19 declaration cycle saw over 188,000 public officers from 243 MDAs disclose their wealth, accounting for over 98% compliance rate. So on this front, I would want to encourage the Eacc that we are making some headway, because 98% compliance is quite remarkable achievement. The Commission, as we speak, is in the process of automating the wealth declaration system for ease of compliance, storage, access, retrieval, and safe custody. The development of the online system is at the user acceptance and testing stage. On completion, the manual and cumbersome process will be a thing of the past. Ladies and gentlemen, I know the citizen does not care about our backroom processes in service delivery. He has already paid for that. The citizen wants access to timely and affordable services. Various surveys undertaken by oversight institutions, including the PSC, indicate that the leading cause of public complaints relates to two things: delay in service delivery and non-responsive public issues. We have undertaken to address these pain points through the establishment of a citizen contact center, where citizen concerns in service delivery will be addressed in real time. We may have the laws, we may have the policies, we may have other documents and many public pronouncements, but ultimately the citizen remains the best auditor of the services that we provide as public servants. And if the public service is effective and efficient, then the citizen is guaranteed of better services and better value for money. And therefore, we are setting up this so that we can address that gap in information sharing between the public, the citizen, and those of us who serve them. I note that the policy we are launching today addresses issues of lengthy bureaucracies and red tape, and recommends staff motivation through introduction of recognition award. May I share with you some very painful experience that as we talk, the Public Service Commission is looking at structures of state departments, and we are looking at issues of succession management and motivation. And last week we had a very sad revelation where an officer has served 35 years without a single promotion. And I think these are some of the issues we in organizations must be looking at. How do you have people serving with you who have never received any motivation in terms of promotion? How can they be happy? And at this, I think, in addition to what Bwana Twarib has said, and our brother Kinoti also alluded to that, we must start looking inwards into our organization to ensure those we charge to do the job have the right motivation, have the right drive, because you can't just commit them to work when we are not committing to their work. The Public Service Commission has commissioned addressing the issue of lengthy bureaucracies and red tape. Red tape, and we are all aware, and it is formally acknowledged, creates an opportunity for rent seeking and other corrupt behavior. To circumvent red tape, you need to pay speed money. Those delays create opportunity for those whose mindset is not service to the Mwananchi. They get the opportunity. So when we as organizations, those who head organizations within public service, we need to ensure that obstruction to flow of processes is actually eradicated. And the good thing is that we can leverage technology to really skip some of the red tape of the past that has so much hurt and that has been so much a pain point for the citizen in this country in terms of service delivery. We need, therefore, to promote business-friendly process engineering in all our organizations, and we will enhance public service efficiency and effectiveness to ensure that the Mwananchi receives services when they need them and with the speed they deserve to be delivered. Ladies and gentlemen, in the just ended financial year, the Commission spearheaded a 100-day rapid results initiative in the Pensions Department, which registered clearance of a backlog of over 10,000 payments dating back to 2008. Over 40 billion shillings was paid as pending pension. We intend to roll out the same in other service sectors experiencing similar challenges. On the matter of recognition and award schemes, the Commission has already implemented this measure through the annual Public Servant of the Year Excellence Award scheme, which includes a category on integrity and accountability. This is in recognition that we sensitize our public servants that integrity, honesty can also pay and can be recognized. The award is accompanied by a promotion by one grade annually, irrespective of when the person received their last promotion. Best performing public officers are recognized for their achievements beyond the call of duty through a very objective, evidence-based nomination process. In conclusion, I once again congratulate the Office of the Attorney General and the Department of Justice for providing leadership in the policy development process, and Parliament for seeing to its successful conclusion. The Public Service Commission commits to implement this policy in full. Thank you very much for giving me audience. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Chairman Kirogo. Please bear with us. The speeches are necessary because we must hear the commitments from the various sectors. And now we want to hear from the Council of Governors. The Chairman, Honorable Weekly for Paranya, will be given an opportunity to address via technology. So I believe that the team is now ready to project the speech by Honorable Oparanya so that we can hear the side of the governors as far as this policy is concerned. Are we ready?
And President of the Supreme Court of Kenya, Honorable David Maraga, the Attorney General of the Republic of Kenya, Honorable Paul Kihara Kariuki, the Chairperson of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, Archbishop Retired Eliud Wabukala, Solicitor General, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. First of all, I want to apologize for not attending this meeting physically because of other issues that arose in my county that required my personal attention. Otherwise, on behalf of the 47-count government, I would like to applaud the Office of the Attorney General, together with other stakeholders for the development of the national ethics and anti-corruption policy that is being launched today. One of the key milestones of our Constitution is the provision of leadership and integrity principles provided for under Article 10 and Chapter 6 of the Constitution. This seeks to achieve sovereign and transformational leadership by demanding high standards of integrity and ethical conduct of state and public offices. Ladies and gentlemen, there are several pieces of legislation enacted to combat corruption. However, it is noteworthy that laws are not self-fulfilling as they require goodwill and cooperation from all the stakeholders. To this end, we see to it that the core objectives of the various laws have not been fully realized. Despite the various laws and prerogatives in the quest against corruption, the vice has remained rampant in the country. This has led to the low confidence by the members of the public in the rule of law. The fight against corruption in Kenya requires a coordinated approach and synergy of all stakeholders. At the county level, we have the county assembly and the Senate, which oversight the resources collected and allocated to county governments respectively. Since the onset of devolution, county governments have made efforts towards reducing the level and prevalence of corruption and unethical practices. To this end, the counties have taken the following measures. 1, establishment of county audit committee. 2, signing of the leadership and integrity codes. And 3, the number of counties have requested Eacc to undertake corruption risk assessment. Ladies and gentlemen, county governments support the fight against corruption at both levels of government. However, there is dire need for the investigative and prosecutorial agencies to discharge their functions in a manner that conforms with the fundamental tenets of justice and equality, devoid of any political interference. As I conclude, I commit that the Council of Governors will continue to partner and support the efforts of all the agencies involved in the fight against corruption. Asanteni sana.
There is a key stakeholder who's been very instrumental in the development of the policy together with the others, and I need to recognize the Executive Director of National Anti-Corruption Steering Committee, David Gadhi, who is with us. There is also Madam Wanjiku Akogi, Secretary the State Corporations Advisory Committee, and also the Secretary to the MAT, also with us. And please, even if I don't mention your name, feel welcome. This policy is for the nation and it's for everybody. And that is why we are patient this morning to listen to all these commitments to the policy. So now it is my pleasure and honor to invite the Office of the Attorney General, represented here by Marianne, to address us as we approach the launch of the policy. Karibu, Marianne.
Good morning. Allow me to start with the Honorable Attorney General's apologies because he told me that an authority above his pay grade has called him for an urgent meeting. So you will allow me to just carry out the delegated function that was given to me, to read his speech as it was given to me. Chairperson, Eacc, Archbishop Wabukara. Chairperson, Public Service Commission, Mr. Stephen Kirogo. Vice Chair, members, and CEO of Eacc. The Director, Criminal Investigations, Mr. George Kinoti. Representative of the DPP, Dorcas Odor. The Country Director, IDLO, Madam Teresa Mugatasa. Our development partners present, colleagues, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am greatly fulfilled today as I take this opportunity to address the auspicious occasion of the launch of the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy, Sessional Paper number 2 of 2018. We are launching this policy at a time when our nation, and indeed the whole world, is grappling with the effects of an ongoing health pandemic that threatens not only our health, but our economic well-being. The need to secure scarce resources for the betterment of our nation is greater now than it was before. It is now more important that the journey to recovery and nation building be undertaken with transparency and accountability. It is a matter of common knowledge that corruption is a major stumbling block to the achievement of our national development goals enshrined in the Vision 2030 and the Big Four agenda. By diverting funds meant for development, corruption undermines the delivery of public services and the achievement of the development goals. According to surveys on socioeconomic challenges in Kenya, the scourge of corruption is perceived as the biggest challenge, and hence the need for an overarching policy framework for effective and sustained anti-corruption strategies. The overall objective of the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy is to reduce levels and prevalence of corruption and unethical practices in Kenya. By providing a comprehensive, coordinated, and integrated framework for the fight against corruption and promotion of ethics. As the office tasked with coordinating strategies for ethics, integrity, and anti-corruption, the adoption and approval of this first national policy on ethics and anti-corruption is a great milestone in the war against corruption. As we inaugurate the policy today, I would wish to urge all Kenyans to ensure effective implementation of the policy by adopting a zero tolerance to corruption. The duty to rid Kenya of corruption rests on the shoulders of every Kenyan and every person resident in Kenya. To my colleagues in the public service, this requires us to remember that public service is a duty to serve the people, and we must therefore strive to provide our services professionally while ensuring optimal use of national resources for the benefit of ours and future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, at this point, let me appreciate our anti-corruption agencies and other actors in the justice chain for upscaling and prioritizing the war against corruption. Recent happenings in the anti-corruption arena have seen the redoubling of efforts in the enforcement of anti-corruption laws. The renewed vigor in the national war against corruption must be sustained. Indeed, without strong watchdog institutions, impunity becomes the very foundation upon which the systems of corruption are built. If impunity is not done away with, all efforts to bring an end to corruption are in vain. I am happy to report that under the framework of the multi-agency team, law enforcement agencies have collaborated to conduct joint operations, share information and intelligence on a real-time basis. This has increased the rate of convictions and asset recovery. Noting that corruption is cross-border in nature and that international cooperation is an important anti-corruption strategy, the OAG and DOJ and other government agencies will continue to pursue strategic partnerships with other states and international agencies with a view to strengthening our capacity to prevent and combat corruption and for the return of proceeds of crime stashed abroad. Since corruption involves deprivation of assets from its rightful owners, the public, such property must be traced, seized, and returned to its legitimate owners. Nothing deters a corrupt perpetrator more than the removal of the advantage gained. Implementation of the policy will ensure that the legal and institutional framework for fighting corruption is constantly reviewed and updated to address the evolving nature of corrupt practices and to seal any gaps in the legal and administrative framework. In that regard, to ensure that the policy is fully implemented, the OAG and DOJ will establish a team to coordinate the implementation of the policy. They will provide annual progress reports to all stakeholders on progress made and any challenges encountered in the implementation of the policy. Ladies and gentlemen, having a policy to deal with corruption is one thing. Having it implemented by we human beings is quite another. If we do not accept to eliminate moral indiscretions from amongst ourselves, we will not be successful in our fight against corruption. We must start with repairing the moral fiber in our society by eliminating the impunity with which some of us conduct our private affairs. The inconsideration for the welfare of the ordinary citizens, the lack of respect in dealing with fellow humans, and the greed for wealth that we shall one day leave behind when we are caught by a creator, these are the fuel for corruption. Until such time as we can individually, honestly, and truthfully eliminate corruption from our lives and shame those who glorify ill-gotten wealth, we will not change. In this regard, each and every one of us is a leader in the fight against corruption because we all have a say. Thank you, and God bless Kenya. It is now my singular pleasure to invite the chairman, Eacc, to give the keynote address and launch the policy.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, just to start, I want to, first of all, acknowledge the fact that the Honorable Attorney General was indeed very desirous to be here with us, but because of a very important function, he called me this morning and said, as our sister Marian has indicated, for all of us to receive his apology. And he asked me to perform a function which, for the first time, may be very difficult, to stand in his shoes and do the opening. And I want to thank you for the presence and also for the patience to be with us up to this time. As I through the protocols, I want to recognize our brother, Chair of Public Service Commission, Steve. I also want to recognize the commissioners for Eacc, including my vice chair, who is seated down here, the directors at Eacc, and our own Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Twalib Mbarak. We also are very privileged to have our brother, the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mr. George Kinoti. Thank you so much. Development partners who are here. The office of the DPP, represented by our sister Dorcas. Thank you so much for coming. Members of the Fourth Estate who are here. The development partners, and I can recognize Sister Teresa Magaza from IDLO. Professional bodies, thank you so much for coming. And the religious organizations represented by Father Mutia here. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by thanking the Almighty God for this wonderful opportunity He has given us to upscale our anti-corruption interventions through the launch of sessional paper number 2 of 2018. It's also referred to as the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy. From the onset, I wish to appreciate all state and non-state actors who have turned up for this event. We don't take it for granted, and we are very, very grateful for your presence. For this underscores the value you people attach to the collective responsibility in the fight against corruption and promotion of ethics. As you may be aware, the Eacc is a constitutional commission, pursuant to Article 79 of the Constitution and established under Section 3 of the Eacc Act number 22 of 2011, whose sole mandate is to combat corruption and economic crime in Kenya through law enforcement, prevention, public education, and promotion of standards and practice of integrity, ethics, and corruption. Now, Section 11(6) of the Eacc Act 22 of 2011 demands that a commission has to establish and maintain strategic linkages and partnerships with the other stakeholders in the rule of law and other governance sectors. I want at this level to appreciate the kind of collaboration Eacc receives from all the stakeholders that are helping us to fight corruption in our country, and particularly our very close partners under NAT and the justice legal system. Eacc has continued to embrace this approach, and therefore we shall continue under this new framework that we are receiving in the new policy we are trying to launch today, that these efforts will be upscaled. And currently, Eacc is implementing its strategic plan for the period 2018 to 2023. And in the plan, the Commission has rationalized its strategies to focus on the following key areas. One, high impact investigations, which focuses on cases of greater impact based on factors such as value involved, personalities involved, and public interest. Secondly, asset tracing and recovery for fetch of unexplained wealth. The objective, as my colleagues have already mentioned, is to take away the benefit gained from corrupt conduct and deter such conduct in future. And third, corruption prevention. The objective is to strengthen systems, policies, and practices of public bodies to prevent corruption, as well as to disrupt corrupt networks to avert loss of public funds. And our CEO, Mr. Twali Barak, has well elaborated on this as a very effective preventive approach. And the last strategy is partnership approach, which is executed through treaties, memorandum of understandings, frameworks of engagement, and that facilitates the repatriation of stolen assets, sharing of information and experiences, and facilitating exchange of best practices. The Commission has continued to champion for institutional policy and legal reforms to provide an efficient and effective infrastructure to deal with corruption and promotion of good governance. And because of these efforts, we have and want to thank all our partners, particularly in the legal system, that the Bribery Act has been enacted 2016, which has come in force, and it's going to help us deal with both the demand and supply side of corruption, because it brings in the private sector in addition to what we are doing in the public sector. Ladies and gentlemen, consistency begets positive progress. Today's launch of the National Ethics and Anti-Corruption Policy is therefore yet another milestone in the anti-corruption discourse, born out of consistent efforts by all actors in the fight against corruption. The overall objective of this policy is to reduce levels and prevalence of corruption and unethical practices in Kenya by providing a comprehensive, coordinated, and integrated framework in the fight against corruption and promotion of ethics. I'm aware that the policy has been developed after thorough assessment of the effectiveness of the current legal policy and institutional frameworks to facilitate realization of our national goals under Vision 2030, the Medium-Term Plan 2, and the Big Four agenda. Eacc therefore welcomes the draft of measures and strategies the policy provides. And we also want to commit, like our colleagues have done, to implementing what this policy has come up with in first prevention of corruption, public education, training and awareness creation, criminalization, law enforcement and jurisdiction, prosecution, asset recovery, international cooperation, and finally, leadership and integrity. Here, the policy arguments anti-corruption interventions already in place and will bolster the intervention by Eacc and our fellow actors in this justice chain. We fully welcome and thank all players who have participated in this work, development and finalization of this, especially the Honorable Attorney General for his astute leadership in terms of coordinating all of us to achieve this wonderful policy. My appeal is that we embark on implementation, just like others have said. Let us remember that realization of its aspirations is highly dependent on how we enforce leadership and integrity requirements under Chapter 6 of our Constitution. Our national values of integrity, patriotism, and selflessness remains critical in this fight. We need to make sure that in fulfilling these aspirations, the citizens are fully involved. To activate the foreign power bestowed on us and to proactively participate in governance processes to enable us to realize the values and aspirations enumerated in this policy. We should always, as citizens, all of us as citizens of Kenya, seek to elect leaders of integrity and also to hold them to account for their actions. Also, the leaders should embrace servant leadership, compassion, humility, and fairness in the discharge of our responsibilities and service to the people. And as my colleagues have already mentioned, the offices that we hold is a trust on behalf of the people. Not all Kenyan citizens will come to become the chair of Eacc. When I'm chair, I'm holding it on behalf of everybody. And that happens to every office that a public officer holds. We do that in trust to the people of this country. And therefore, we become good stewards of whatever is given under our seal. That will help us to combat corruption. Also, media. The media is very important because it is the one that will help to disseminate the information. It can illuminate, it can admonish the corrupt among us, and it can also champion integrity in their programs. Our society more than ever requires good mentorship and good role models. And so public officers should desist from theft and diversion of public resources for personal gain. Instead, they should use their offices to bring dignity and honor to our nation. In conclusion, I want also to say all is not lost. This war on corruption needs all of us to be patient and persistent. As I look at the current indicators, one shows that the World Bank says that the ease of doing business in this country has improved from position 130 to position 56 in 2019. I think that is something we need to say something good has happened. Sometimes we focus on the negative things. These little improvements need to be applauded to encourage us to continue to do more. I have also looked at the Transparency International Corruption Index for 2019, which also showed an improvement of 6 points. If you have an examination and you improve by 6 marks, it might even push you to get a distinction. So the index says that Kenya improved 6 points from position 144 in 2018 to position 138. Well, it may not be a credit, but it's an improvement. And therefore, these are gains which I'm saying we are patient and persistent, we can continue to achieve a very remarkable success in the war against corruption. So these significant strides have been achieved through collaboration with the local, regional, and international partners. We therefore remain grateful for the support by all Kenyans. Our strength, progress, and eventually prosperity lies in our collective efforts and contribution towards a just and fair society. We should work using this model that we have received to begin to change our culture, and that culture that we can bring role modeling in order to combat corruption. Somebody says the word culture comes from cult, and of course cult is worship. And so what we worship will basically form our way of life. And unfortunately, too much worship of money, energy that is spent in worshiping money and power will lead us on the wrong path. Let us then begin to change that so that our culture changes for people who can serve, people who can be good stewards, and people who can also be caring one to another. And with these many remarks, I wish therefore to thank you for listening and move that we go to the next second stage of unveiling our policy that we have just talked about. Thank you.
Okay, so the chairman of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission will lead this team to unveil cut the ribbon and unveil and launch the policy. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, Chairman. Yes, okay, that is the concept. Yes, okay, thank you. Has refused to. Huh? Present? Who are them? Okay, so the chairman will now present some of the copies to the key partners here in front, starting with the chairman, chairman? Yes, Public Service Commission, where are they? Yeah, okay.
To the media, please.
Yes. And then after this, we'll go back there and take a picture for everybody. The copies. So the chairman, public representative of the Attorney General will get a copy, although they should be the ones giving us all copies. They are the custodians of this. The representative of the DPP's office. Okay. The judiciary, DCI elect, and then the judiciary representative, please come. Or the interfaith, please come and receive on behalf of the religious organizations. APSEA, please come, and IDLO. GIZ? Oh, you didn't present? Okay. Country Director IDLO will receive that. Yes. Okay, so IDLO can receive first. Yes, that's the thing.
Rian? Yeah.
Okay, the judiciary representative, is that? Okay, this Upstairs, yes, upstairs, sorry. Upstairs. Okay, now the Attorney General's office will hand over the copy to the Chairman, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, together with the CEO. They can receive. Vice Chair, you should have stood here with your Chairman. Okay. Transparency, do you have a copy for them? Yeah, Transparency International, please come and receive on behalf of TI. GIZ, if you are here. Yeah, TI, that's Transparency International. Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody. Let's just go back there. Yeah, then these copies are available online, and if you need copies, you can also let us know that you need. Council of Governors, yes. Who is yeah, if there is somebody who can receive on behalf of the office.
Give them ceremonial.
Okay, we will. Yeah, so we'll ask the people who have received to please stand up here and receive, or maybe down here near the flowers, so that they can take a copy, a photograph of the, just in front of the dais. That might be small. After that, Commissioner Dr. Dabar, please, you would give vote of thanks so that we can close the function.
At least you can remove your mask just for a few minutes. Okay. Okay. So we take back our seats for the vote of thanks and closure.
Whatever you do, whatever you do, ni lazima tunakucheki.
Yeah, please take your seats and that's it.
Tunakucheki, hautapora pesa ya umma. Tunakucheki, hautakuwa na ukabila. Tunakucheki, hautatutumia. Maendeleo ni jukumu lako, na kujali maslahi yetu. Hicho cheo ulicho nacho, sisi ndio tulikupa. Ukileta mchezo ndani ya kazi, sisi tutaichukua. Tunakucheki, Raundi hii tumeamua, ni lazima tunakucheki. Whatever you do, whatever you do, ni lazima tunakucheki. Whatever you do, whatever you do, ni lazima tunakucheki. Hicho cheo ulicho nacho, sisi ndio tulikupa. Ukileta mchezo
Hello, good afternoon. Many names have been mentioned. I won't bother to go that, and I say all protocols observed. I've been given 2 tasks. After I read the vote of thanks, I've been asked to say a word of prayer, so please still remain briefly. Thank you very much, colleagues, for this wonderful day, and it is now my pleasure and great honor to really extend a vote of thanks on behalf of Eacc and also other partners, Office of the Attorney General and other stakeholders, for this wonderful opportunity of launching the National Ethics Anti-Corruption Policy, which is a landmark for the country. The policy marks a key milestone in addressing unethical practices and corruption issues. Our responsibility is to implement the aspirations and ensure that they are held high regardless across all the stakeholders of the society of Kenya. As we have had this morning, we had a lot of inspiring words from various speakers, and we say to all the speakers, thank you very much. And I think it's good to hear and take the words that we have been given. I was really very much touched by the words of our brother, Mr. Kinoti. Stealing public money from mamas and babas at the village is one of the worst curse you can ever receive. In my religion, if you steal public money, your penalty is on the day of judgment. All your good things will be taken away, and all the sins of the people whom you stole the money from will be on your neck. You can imagine that. All humanity, 50 million Kenyans' sins, the drunkards, the thieves, everybody's sins is on your neck. Where will you go? I think we really need to be very concerned about that. And not only stealing public money, but appropriate utilization of public resources. Even more than you can use. Our prophet said, even the stream that is running, the river, just take the amount you want to use, because this river is not running for nothing. It feeds the ants, it feeds the trees, it feeds the animals, so don't push water everywhere, because there's plenty moving around. There are others who don't have. Thank you very much, the speakers, for those wonderful and encouraging words you have given to us today. Among the speakers, there's a very special person, the Office of the Attorney General, headed by our Honorable the Attorney General, Mr. Kariuki. This is not a simple job, and I think we have really come a very, very long time. We have had, I think my sister Sophie said this was supposed to be launched almost 2018, but at the end we have. Your office, the Office of the Attorney General, stewardship and the development of this policy and accepting to grace this occasion through his representative was not really a simple job, and we appreciate that. Your resilient efforts to ensure the country has a national blueprint to fight corruption and promote ethical leadership is highly recommendable. This will remain an indelible mark in the history of our nation. I remember a few years ago we went to Austria, and one of the people who evaluated Kenya said, when is Kenyan policy going to be passed? And I think this is very, very important. It's an international requirement, and we are grateful to the Office of the Attorney General. To our development partners, we don't maybe see you here, or maybe you are behind, but some of them are here. We sincerely thank you. We extend our sincere gratitude for your close collaboration and support in the development, publishing, dissemination, and the launch of this policy.
on KBC Channel 1.
So you didn't put gas in the car before going out on the highway?
Well, I didn't know I was running out of gas.
You didn't know it?
It's your fault, too. You didn't notice either.
Oh, my goodness.
But you know, he showed up today wearing brand new clothes. Where's he getting his money from? I've totally failed him.
No, that's not true.
That isn't true. Don't pay attention to her. She's disrespectful. You have to fire her immediately.